You know what you need to do, Buzz, is you need to get Disco Inferno loaded in there so that we can play that on the podcast.
We could do that.
Hi, this is Steve Riles, longtime FC Dallas season ticket holder and unabashed Third Degree fan. Third Degree, the podcast, is brought to you by Soccer 90, your source for FC Dallas, U.S. national team, and international club gear. New arrivals have been landing daily, including fresh Adidas FC Dallas tees. Check out all the new arrivals on soccer90.com and use code Third Degree at checkout to receive 20% off your order. Some exclusions may apply.
Well, hello there, FC Dallas curious and celebratory fan. Welcome to another episode of Third Degree, the podcast. Number, please?
153.
Whoa, look at us. I don't know what to say. Our team won.
Yeah.
We won a game, guys. Hi, it's me, Peter, and alongside here on this pod via the miracle of the internet, first Dan Crooke. Hello, Dan.
Hi, Peter. I was a little bit confused and thought you said FC Dallas curious and celibacy fan, which just sounds weird.
It would fit, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be It would be a sad FC Dallas celibacy fan.
Okay, well,
He's out there on the Twitters.
And there he is, the guy that agreed with me way too quickly, the editor and founder of thirddegree.net, the great Buzz Carrick. Come in, Buzz.
Hi, Peter. As I said on my instant reaction, I love winning. It's better than losing.
Winning is fun. I said this in the moments after Twitter. I was at the game Saturday night, and I was in the stands, and I've been following this team for the better part or more than 25 years. And when Alan Velasco went on that 60-yard Messi-like run and scored that goal, that now has to be one of the greatest moments in this club's history. And I was really, really glad to be there. And boy, what a way to greet your new fan base.
Yeah, I had multiple people mention to me that was the best moment that they'd been at, and then the crowd reaction was better than it's been in a long, long time. I will tell you that the media interest in this kid is higher than we've seen from a while. Now, a lot of it is, of course, Hispanic media, which is certainly acceptable as well. It's probably even more the core audience for this club, really, it should be, than perhaps English language even is, to be fair. And there's people that really want to see what this kid's got, and attention is climbing. And I don't blame him for that, because the kid is phenomenal. I mean, I told you that I was really impressed with him from training, and he delivered everything I thought he would in the game. I mean, the goal was obviously a bonus, but even just his play was exactly what I was expecting.
Yeah, that goal was really the stuff of dreams. I mean, to come in and play in your first game, and not just to score a goal, but to score a goal in that manner against that particular defense, it really is quite incredible. In fact, I must admit, when the goal was scored, I began laughing maniacally so loudly and so over the top that people stopped and looked at me. It's a true story.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's true. I was that delighted by the whole thing. It was very much a Mr. Burns-esque moment on my part. So, Dan, it doesn't get much better than that, does it, bud?
It certainly doesn't. I'm picturing that right now, and it's a magical thing. I bet you were doing the hand gesture too, the excellent.
After a few fist pumps, there was a lot of maniacal hand wringing going on, rubbing your fists together. Just
The evil plan is coming to fruition.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening. Yeah. It was really good. And I, Dan, is there one element about his game that you noticed in this mere maybe 30 minutes that you enjoyed more than the other part?
It was actually a lot of his off the ball stuff that I liked. He seems a really humble kid and really respectful. After the game, he talked about getting Kenyon and Hara's opinions on things, going up to Hara before the penalty, and giving him some words of encouragement, not doing the hey, I'm the record signing here, I want this.
Okay, hold on a second. Wait, stop for 1 second, because I read your review of the game, and I swear I read that he asked Hara to take the penalty kick, and that's what that back and forth was him trying to sell Hara on him taking the PK. Was that not reported correctly originally?
I didn't hear that, but that may have been something said in Spanish. I just like that after it was all said and done, when Hara was putting the ball down on the spot, he goes up to him and says a few words. I think that's, I think that tells a good attitude, of a good attitude. We've seen a few bad ones over time when it's come to penalties and those glory moments. So it's a good start from a young kid. I was especially impressed. He goes up he chases Zimmerman down to want to swap his jersey. I thought that was that was kind of cool, identifying, hey, this is a guy who plays on the national team who's was head and shoulders above just about everyone in the game, literally and figuratively, and yeah.
Short FC was on full display that Saturday night.
Yeah,
we'll talk more about Zimmerman here in a few minutes. I'm kind of glad to hear you tell that version of the event, because I swear somewhere, I don't remember where, or maybe I heard it, or maybe I'm making this up and I was just assuming that little back and forth between him and Hara on the PK was him trying to sell himself to take it. Because it went on for a pretty good while before Hara finally looked at it. I thought, at least I got the impression he was like, no, kid, this is mine. Go away. But maybe that's not how it went down. Buzz, did you hear anything differently?
Well, you're right that he did say that in some quotes. I did not hear the interview myself, but he said that he wanted to take it. I don't specifically remember that him saying at the end, hey, go get it, Franco, and I'll take Dan's word for that on that, because I wasn't paying attention to that. So I was worried about whether Franco Hara was going to miss it or not. I just assumed Franco Hara would take it because Franco considers himself a PK specialist, so he's going to want it. He's going to want to get a goal and get going. So I'm not. That's actually the player that I would assume would take it, and the player that I would expect to take it, and the player I would want to take it would be Franco Hara. There's no, I don't care that listen. I think the world of this kid Velasco. I do not want a 19-year-old kid in his first game taking the PK. I want Franco Hara taking the PKs.
I do.
Yeah.
And let me say something, because out of all of this, the one thing I had completely forgotten is that Hara is Argentinian. Like, I had completely forgotten that. And it's very clear that between him and Quignon, those two guys are really important to Velasco and his kind of getting settled and acclimated here.
Yeah, what's fascinating, and this, I actually considered doing a burn on this, and then I decided to save it for today. And that's, as Dan has hinted at, that his humbleness, it's absolutely fascinating to me that this kid is apparently shy, Velasco, that he doesn't necessarily like all the attention and doesn't like this anointed one stuff. And that he is reluctant to put himself forward in a public way, not in terms of play on the field. He's very willing to put himself forward in that way. But it's the public stuff. Like, even like if you watch the clips of the hat thing in the post game, he seems a little reluctant to do that, and Franco's like, no, put it on, So, and from things I've heard from inside the club,
this is the fans' silly thing. We have to do it. Go put the stupid hat on.
Yeah. But also, just do it because it's kind of fun. People like it, but that's some stuff I've heard from inside the club too, is that he's not looking for the spotlight, that he doesn't want that attention necessarily. I mean, he's going to get it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the club has tweeted that stupid goal like 30 times since then, to which I don't blame them. The hype is real. I mean, he made the team of the week off of 20, 30 or whatever it was, 26 minutes, because that goal's a banger. But, and listen, you cannot help it. When you watch him play and you think Argentina, your mind immediately goes Messi, because the styles are the same. I'm not saying, and no one's going to say that he's that good, but stylistically, he reminds you of him in the way he plays. And so people are going to jump all over that. The hype is going to be unreal on this kid. And I hope he's mentally tough. I have no idea. I've never talked to him, and we're going to find out, because I think that the magnifying glass is going to go up. MLS doesn't have the crowd's craziness that sometimes Argentina has, but I think there's a bigger focus here, a bigger magnifying glass here that people realize, as this league is now a big feeder league, and people are going to notice if he starts banging in, goals at this kind of clip. I mean, his first game, of course, but it's going to be fun. And it's so fascinating to see him be shy and, as Dan said, humble relative to some other players that we've seen come in here that have not been remotely shy or humble, either one.
Well, in Dan's article, you make the analogy to Mauro Diaz and the differences between the two, and maybe now this would be a good place to kind of expand on that a little bit for those who haven't read the article.
Yeah, I think we all knew one thing for at least from the fan side of things was those sad Mauro hashtags, because everyone could kind of see Mauro wasn't always invested. He was a guy who would get clipped and stay down for a while, would maybe take a game off, wasn't the best trainer. I don't think he ever actually in 5 years got his driver's license or moved from the first rental property, which kind of screams like, oh, this is temporary. Velasco seems to have really bought into it, which, considering there were the rumors of him not wanting to leave Independiente to come to here, he seems all in. He wants to be part of it.
And that's a relief based on the fact that maybe initially we had heard that maybe he didn't want to be here. I mean, there's been no indication of that in any way since he showed up.
Yeah, we talked about this winter how worried we were about it because of those rumors that were coming out of Argentina, and it doesn't appear to all be the case. He seems really excited and joyful to be here.
Yeah,
I think him kind of like being under the wing of Facu and Franco Jara is a good thing. Like Jara, he's now the got the big cookie cutter home in Prosper and living got his kid in the academy and doing all the things. He's fully invested. He may well be one of those guys that retires and is like, yep, I'm staying. So to have Velasco around someone like that is good. With Mauro Diaz, you had that period where he was definitely a little bit of a loner. Then they brought in Urruti, then they brought in Mauro Rosales, and kind of gave him that little bit of a support system. To have that already built into the club with two senior players is a very good thing, for a very good environment for him to come into.
Yeah, I want to make sure we get all of this, Alan Velasco stuff right up front, because it really is the best part of the evening. It is great for the club. And in my opinion, like I said at the start, it's one of the best moments in this club's history. It was a fantastic evening and a really, really solid win. But I do want to step away from that a little bit and get more into kind of some of the tactics and some of the what I think are bigger looming issues with the club. Winning and beating Nashville 2-0 is a fantastic result. There's no two ways around it. But that was really built off of, the last 15 minutes of the game in many ways, once Nico had made some tactical changes that I want to talk about. And what I thought was interesting, Buzz, was the game really came alive when Franco Jara subbed in for Paxton Pomykal, and they appeared to change their formation.
Yeah, that switching to the 4-4-2 thing continues to be a tool that this coach is using. It almost seems to come frequently at the same minute mark. And what he told me last week still holds true in this one, that each time they've done it, it's been for a different reason. There definitely seems to be a mentality of limiting the game and slowing down the game and compressing the game and then going for it at the end by making some sort of adjustments. Partially that's the short shift of formations, but partially it's just the way that they have this very specific defensive structure that defensively looks like a W, basically, where even in possession, you have your six and your two center backs, and your outside backs have slid up a little bit, equal to the six, basically, and they keep this structure. So even when you see an outside back flex forward or slide into the middle or whatever, somebody will flex back in, like the 8 will flex in or the wing will flex back. This defensive discipline of coverage makes it very difficult for the opposition to break you down and have success. And that was particularly true against Nashville, where they limited Nashville to very, very few. I can't remember any run of play opportunities. It was all set piece, was all the danger. Again, the FC short, that's going to be a problem. But, this stifling of the game and controlling the pace of the game. I'm going to come back to this later when we get to the scrimmage, the training report, because it's going to come up again. But this is a specific plan. It's not necessarily just we're playing like crap. Now, they did struggle breaking down Nashville, who's very good defensively. That's true, But the whole idea is to win or be in a game 0-0, 1-1, not lose 4-3. Right? There's a big difference this year.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I realize what I'm about to say may come off as being hyper negative, but until Velasco came on the field, the first 63 minutes of that game was like watching paint dry.
Yeah,
it was the most boring, unwatchable soccer game I had attended in a long time, and I was getting very frustrated watching this team play a lot of lateral and back balls and be afraid to play balls into people checking back in the middle. And again, if that's by design, that's, I guess, a little bit better to hear.
Yeah.
And if maybe that's the trick. The team is what it is, and Nico says we're just going to shut up shop until the end, and we're going to try to win it late.
Well, yes and no. He did tell me that they had a lot of trouble breaking down Nashville, that it was not a good performance for them in terms of both the build shape and the choices that they made. So you're 100% correct, and he agrees with you to a certain, whether in the minutiae or not, I don't know. But on a macro level, Coach Nico agreed with you that it was not a particularly good performance in the build and attack forward aspect. So don't feel bad that you felt that way, because it was that way, and the coach recognizes that way. It's that way. But this coach so far is not willing to sacrifice that defensive integrity to, early in the game. Later in the game, there can be a sort of a go for it mentality. But, and if you watch this team going forward over the next few games, you can even look for that. The people that are listening can look for that. Look for the difference of coverage, because you'll see the eights, Paxton or Brandy, you'll see them slide in almost as a third center back or an extra outside back in a way when the outside back is going forward a lot of times, because they want to maintain this rigidity of the defense and not get exploited. So it's not the double overload of Lucci. It's going to be a guy swapping in and out and occupation of space. That's the big buzzword from this coach at the beginning of the year. So you're all correct, though. It was not a great offensive performance for most of it. It really was the triggers of Velasco's individual creativity and Frank Lahara playing as a more traditional sort of 9 that kind of unlocked it in the end.
Yeah. Dan, I don't know if you were able to attend the game Saturday night, but getting to see this team in person for the first time, I'm now more convinced than ever that Cervania and Pomykal are doing an insane amount of covering ground in the course of these games, and clearly that's why they're being subbed out when they are, because the work rate those two kids are putting out is just off the charts, and it's all because of the formation and the tactics.
Yeah, I think the broadcast never quite does them justice in the amount of off-the-ball running that they're both doing, back and forth, side to side especially. I mean, this game was kind of the one where Paxton was a little more central, and it was just Brandon going side to side, but, effectively they've been covering a 70 by 70 square on the field, both playing box to box, side to side. As they've kind of had those little 3-man overloads on each side, and stepped into various coverages.
So, Buzz, do we continue to just assume that this is the work in progress? This is everybody realizes this is a process, right? Everybody, this is a process. And part of the process is we're still figuring out how we're going to create opportunities.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And this coach is also one to micromanage matchups and tweak things based on how the opposition plays to a greater extent than coaches that have here before. A lot of coaches that I've had the experience of covering are, at least especially early in the season, are very concerned with how they're playing. They want to get their team playing the way they want to play, and then they start worrying about the other team. This coach right away is adapting things to the opposition. And in this game specifically, like the Paxton left-right flip-flop with Cervania. for all the first half was because of that. Because of the way the opposition played, he wanted Paxton on the right and Cervania on the left, so that because that's the opposite foot for those guys. Paxton's left-footed and Brang is right-footed. So they wanted to be able to have Paxton be able to swing those left-footed balls and sort of either drop them right behind easily or split through the defense, with his left foot from the right side, and same with Brandon. So this flip was specifically designed for Nashville in the way they play. And then he said that Nashville changed at halftime. They changed what they were doing. So Dallas recognized that and flipped them back, Paxton and Cervania back to their normal sides to take advantage of the change that Nashville made. So those more specific matchups and more specific tactical changes are happening sooner and earlier with this coach than they have for other coaches. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if you want to try and make more hay in terms of how we want to play, and maybe this is derailing a little bit your chance creation that you're talking about, because he is concerned about the opposition earlier than I might have expected. At the same time, it's just different. Whether it's good or bad, I think remains to be seen. It is definitely different than other coaches that have come through here.
Speaking of chance and opportunity creation, we now have 2 games in a row where Jesus has missed a complete sitter. And at what point do we all start asking each other and wondering about what his form is? And is this a byproduct of the big new $2 million a year deal? How much time do we give Jesus before we start getting a little worried?
Oh, I wouldn't say worried yet. I think it's 100% fair to start asking about it. I think you have to absolutely at this point consider that he's thinking about it, that he wants a goal. If you'd wanted somebody else to take the PK, that's who I would have let do it to get him off the schneid this season. I'm not particularly worried about Jesus yet, but I think he's worried about it. I think he's thinking about it, and stressing a little bit. He looks a little tight to me, when he's gotten the opportunities. On the upside, he is still playing in the right way if you buy into that stuff, and he does have the relatively good XG and such if that's your cup of tea. Now in this game specifically, you can look at Jesus. If you like that stat, you can look at Jesus and his roughly 0.4 compared to Haro's roughly 0.8 in a much shorter space of time, and quickly understand and hopefully that 0.8 doesn't count the PK for Franco Jara, because that would be stupid. Does it? Well, then that's a stupid analogy.
That's actually
then.
A 0.8 shot.
Yeah, that's actually really poor then. So never mind. That's a terrible analogy, MLS, for putting that. You should have a non-PK XG. So forget that whole thing. But the bottom line was Jesus' 0.4 is that means he's still, for me, putting himself in relatively good positions, and he'll get one here soon enough. I'm not worried yet.
So because the game changed so much, did you have any particular reaction to Franco Jara's performance in the 20 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever it was he was on the field?
No, he looks just like Franco Jara to me. I mean, the same guy slow as molasses, knows how to play. He can still get things done even though he's really slow. A little more hold-up style than Jesus is, plays like a higher, more traditional 9. So, it's a good change of pace kind of sub. I'm perfectly fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice when you've got kind of, Jesus struggling on aerial options to have a guy that's a bit bigger and stronger to compete more. Obviously the aim of the game was get Walker Zimmerman out of position, and on both goals, Zimmerman followed Jara, dropping back. He wasn't doing that so much with Jesus. Obviously Jara's a little bit more adept shooting from distance, so I kind of understand wanting to close him down more. And I've loved Jara's defensive play at the end, being the kind of the floating guy on those last couple of free kicks and throw-ins when they were, throwing short and crossing into the box. I think he won a header late on and then helped Tafari out and clear the loose ball away. That's kind of what you want to see from your late game subs.
Yeah, and Buzz FBref does have non-penalty XG, and Jara had a 0 for the game. By the way.
There you go.
That was his only shot.
Yeah, it was. Okay, so let's move over to the guys playing on the wing before Velasco got on the field in Pauly Nips. Buzz, where's the shirt? And Hadir Obrian, who wasn't as bad in this particular game as he was in the previous one.
How do I put that on his shirt?
I don't know, put a couple of some pasties in the word Polly.
Good grief.
Somebody will create it for you, Buzz. You just gotta put it in the store and sell it.
Yeah. Okay. Holy cow. Again, I thought Areola was good, and I thought O'Brien was okay. It's just, this was a tough team to break down. Nashville's very good. Defensively, that's a team that's had Dallas's number for 2 years since they were created.
Yeah.
So I can't look at that game and go, oh yeah, that's a game where the Wings didn't do. I mean, everybody had problems. Now listen, Dallas had 13 shots on goal, 5 on goal. 13 shots total. And limited Nashville is just 5 and not even 1 on target. So that's a commanding home performance. Traditionally, we would have said that we would like more shots than that at home, but that's right on the money for this team the way it plays under this coach. That's 13 and 5 on target is a really nice ratio. So I don't have any complaints about the Wings. It was a very difficult match, and Dallas ended up doing what they needed to do. So it's fine.
All right, but is there any room to have a conversation and about if this is Nico doing the right thing by putting this team in a formation that really limits their creative capability and probably doesn't maximize the players' talents or the roster that he has in an effort to kind of shut up shop long enough until he decides to open the door and then switch to a formation and put the players on that maybe give them an opportunity to score a few goals and win a game. And I'm really torn about how I feel about this strategy.
Yeah, I think a factor in that has to be Dan Hunt's mentality going into this winter of the bleeding goals last year. And the number one thing he looked at was the goals against, right? So you're hiring a new coach. It's like, hey, coach, I'm going to give you this gig, but you got to tell me you're going to stop the goals against so I can buy it, right? And you team defense is easier than team offense. So it's not surprising early in the season, we have this conversation almost every year that the team defense is better in the beginning than the team offense is. Team offense always takes longer. Individual offense is instinct. Team offense is hard, much harder. So, so far the results are, relatively decent. I'm not, there hasn't been a result that's pissed me off or has me like going, man, this is a mess. It looks like a team trying to find its legs, maybe in another month we'll be worried. And maybe in 3 months we'll be like, well, this is horrible. What a terrible idea this was. But right now, I mean, it's like I said in my instant reaction, right? If you keep games tight, think back to the New England game when Matt Hedges said it was the best mentality, told coach it was the best mentality we've had in years on the road because you can keep the game tight and have yourself in it. And you go against a team that you've struggled with at home in Nashville and you put in a decent performance, keep them shut out and score. It's like if on paper, what more do you want? Now, is it stylistically pretty? No. It's a grindy kind of defense, And even offensively, it's a grindy offense until you get these moments of excellence where a guy does something individual and breaks it. So I'm not upset or worried at this point. It's not sexy, and coach admitted that it wasn't good offensively. So, their identification that it wasn't good hopefully means it will continue to improve.
So at the beginning of the season, we, or at least I did, anointed this the year of Paxton because I'm all excited about this season of Paxton. And so far, I think his games have been pretty solid, but I do think that the general media and the fans at large are really starting to take notice, and deservedly so, of his partners in Cervania and Cerrillo.
Yeah, I'm sure Dan will agree with this assessment that statistically Paxton has been really good, but we're missing the difference maker Paxton, the little extra something. Now, yeah, in this game in particular, Cervania was my man of the match until Velasco did Velasco things. And I still gave, lots of publicity to Cervania because I thought he was phenomenal. It was one of his best games he's ever had, in my opinion, for FC Dallas. I just thought he was literally involved in everything and made a massive difference offensively and defensively. And it's not surprising that like 2 days later, here came the new contract. I'm sure the contract was done ahead of time, or he knew it was done, and maybe that all contributed to his positivity. But I honestly think that kid is really coming to his own as a substantial top-level midfielder. And again, the whole plan with those three guys, they're all 22 years old. It's clear now that the plan is let them play in for 2 or 3 seasons and see where you are. So I love how early the progression is all three of those guys, and I'm sure Dan would say the same thing.
Absolutely. Yes, I mean, Sylvania's performance was phenomenal. Leading the game with 5 shots, really having the pass that led to the penalty, having the assist on the goal. Every positive chance seemed to come through him. And Cerrillo has been absolutely outstanding defensively. He's really stepped up in times where they've played more of a flatter 3, and he's been forced into that more of a uncomfortable 8 role. Even the times where you'll see Paxton or Brandon drop and he'll be the aggressive one out of midfield, pressing the ball carrier out of the back for the opposition. I think he's really been adept at that. He's picked up a couple of yellow cards, but it's not been every time he's challenging, he's fouling a player. Like I think we saw a little bit earlier on in his career. I haven't checked the numbers lately, but before this game, he had the most touches, the most positive passes out of the midfield on the entire team. His option, he's in an option year this year, so I'm sure we'll expect to see a contract headed his way. That's very soon too.
Yeah, for sure. Has Cerrillo scored for Dallas yet in his career?
No.
And has Cervania scored?
I believe so in Cervania.
Okay. All right. I didn't know. Yeah, it's fun to watch those 3 kids play in person. There is a lifetime of understanding between the 3 of them that is very evident when you watch them in person. I don't think it comes across on TV, but when you see those 3 guys playing in person, it's clear that they've been playing together for a very long time. And I'm sure that just makes Nico as happy as he could possibly be, because that's a very cool element to the game. And again, Nashville's a tough team to break down, and maybe we'll see more out of that as we talk about Portland here in a few minutes. We also got a lot of Nanu in this game. The good, the bad, Buzz. Where are you feeling about Nanu?
Well, I'm kind of meh, frankly.
Okay.
I think I did ask Coach about how he thought he did, and he thought he was quite good, and that he provided a lot of athleticism going forward and got some couple good balls in, but also thought that he was nervous because it was the first game, a little tight, I think all that's true. I don't. I'll be honest. Like, sometimes when you watch a player play, there can just be something about him that sits wrong with you, and it's nothing he does specifically. Like in terms of his style of play, it's actually how he moves. It's the way his body moves. He looks really clunky to me, and the ball gets caught sort of underneath him a fair amount. I like my players to glide a little more, and he kind of reminds me of, I don't know, like watching Herschel Walker run or something, which is a strange analogy because Herschel Walker was a great runner, but Nanu kind of feels like that to me. He kind of bulls through things, and I don't love that. I want a guy that glides and slides and slips. And it's just 100% purely my own stupid preconceived, ideas about what a good player looks like, and that's not fair to him at all, probably, except that I don't think he did anything more than Ima Tuamasi does, to me. And I don't watch him play and go, ooh, I can't wait to watch this guy play 20 games. It's just, he's fine, I guess. Big endorsement, I know.
No, well, I mean, I get it. Everybody has preferences about how they want players to play, but that was kind of my question was, is he an upgrade from Tuamase, who I think, to be fair, Buzz, you also have a bit of a bias for. So, you've been pushing Tuamase for a while. So I wonder if part of this is just your own personal biases between the two.
Well, for my bias for Tuamase comes because when he was in USL Championship, he led San Antonio in scoring chances created. So he's an offensive attacker that creates chances that's being converted to outside back and learning how to defend and gets better as a defender all the time. So I don't know enough about Nano to tell you if he's going to bring those things to the table or not. I don't know if he's going to be an upgrade on Emo or not. I don't think Emo's been played bad enough to get benched. I do think when you bring in a player from Portugal on loan that you're going to do your best to get him in there and at least see what he's got. And I told you before that like the players from this tier of club with this sort of injury or whatever else issues got going on does not have a high track record. So maybe I'm cynic and thinking like, man, you got to do something to make me think this is a good idea. Because right now I don't think it's a good idea. So I'm going to need some converting. So clearly I'm admitting my bias against the guy, which is probably not fair, but it's where I am. It's like I want to see more than I'm seeing before I'm like, oh yeah, this has been an upgrade.
Okay. And then Hedges and Martinez. Dan, you got any bones to pick with either one of those guys after the Nashville win?
No, I thought it was actually Martinez's best game of the season.
Whoa. Dan just complimented Martinez.
I thought you were going to disagree with him.
No. It's Martinez low time.
And yeah, I was kind of interested to see the way that they set out the markers on corners. Hedges obviously stuck to Zimmerman, but they seemed the way they had Martinez set up was more that he was there to catch the second ball because they knew every set piece was going to go to Zimmerman. It's just where that ball falls to. So it was kind of interesting to see. I think Paxton at some point was picking up. Sorry, not Paxton. Who was it? Was it Nani was picking up?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Sapong at some point from set pieces. The marking assignments were a little bit, out of the orthodox, just to cater for Zimmerman and kind of where that second ball would come from. So it was interesting to see how the defenders reacted to those. I thought Hedges did as well as he could against one of the best aerial guys in the league, and I thought Martinez did well as that kind of attacking, get to the second ball guy.
Okay. Farfan, am I pushing it or being ridiculous when I say, at least so far this season, Farfan may be the best signing in the league?
I'd agree.
In the league. Ooh.
In the league. Tell me another guy that's been signed that has filled a role as perfectly for his club and for the assignment he's been given as Farfan has for Dallas. I can't think of one.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't think of one either, but I wasn't anticipating breaking down everybody's rosters. Obviously, he's been phenomenal. I give you that. Just best in the league is a strong accolade. It's definitely in the conversation for the best trade, Obviously, he's a significant defensive upgrade over Ryan, and the loss of offense in this particular system is no big deal. In terms of fit, it's been an absolutely phenomenal slotting and fitting. And as Dallas said they were going to do, right? The moves are about fit right now. So, it's a legitimate question to ask, Peter. I just don't have an answer for it because I didn't know we were doing that.
That's fine. Let's keep it local then. Of the people that were signed this season, I think he's easily the best signing of the season so far. Now that may change next week with more Velasco.
Yeah.
And as well as Areola has played, I still think Farfan has been the best of the three signings just because we have more sample size. And man, I'm just telling you, I really like that kid's game.
He's really good. I definitely would say that he's, in terms of the fit and the role he's supposed to do, he's absolutely done everything he's expected to do and we're asked to do. So, it's round peg, round hole, yeah.
Well, it's funny. You talk about having qualities in a way a person plays that attracts or turns you off, and you were applying that to Nanu. Well, I would say in the inverse, I really like Farfan's style of play, his body language, his movement, the way that he looks at the ball and receives it and turns and plays, and all of his little skill sets are all things that I like about him as a player. That I think that's all super attractive, and I've been super impressed with him, and kudos to them for making that trade happen.
Yeah, you know exactly what I mean. Like, you can see a player, and sometimes within like 10 seconds, or the first time they touch the ball, you can go, oh yeah. And then other guys, you watch them train, you're like, ooh, clunky. So that's how I was with Nano. It's like, I was,
I'll make this is not an MLS analogy, and I'm certainly not an Arsenal fan, but man, I love watching Odegaard and Smith Rowe play. Smith Rowe's got to be my favorite player in the Premier League right now. There's something about his style and the way he plays the game that I really, really like. Odegaard is a very close second in that, but that's what I'm talking about, and I think you are too. So it's just the style of play. It's the way guys play. So
yeah.
All right, and the goalkeeper, Mr. Paas. I still haven't. All right, well, I don't want to talk about that. Anyway, how's he doing? Are we happy with him? Is he filling the role well? The Dutch goalkeeper.
Well, he seems to be. Again,
they're not giving up a lot. We don't really get a chance to.
He didn't get a shot on goal,
do we?
Right? So
I know.
I thought, by the way, absolutely hysterical that the club's all-state save of the game was a shot going wide. It happened to be the only ball he touched all day. I thought that was really funny. Fills the spot. From watching training, I think his feet are just a little bit worse than Jimmy Maurer. Jimmy Maurer's got pretty good feet. But as somebody, I think it was Eric Winalda actually tweeted that old dudes are good for backups, young guys should play. I was like, wow, okay. So, in some ways I'm kind of like, if you have 6 months of this guy, and he's not doing anything to lose the job right now, then he's going to keep the job, because you're going to see, A, do we want to actually buy him? And B, you have a very short window to figure it out. And unless he craps the bed, Maurer's not going to be back in there.
Yeah. I do wonder, let's see. So I'm looking at his stats. His goal kicks are launch percentage, more than 40. Yes. So it doesn't say how many were completed. That was one of the things that, I think we feel fairly comfortable with, Jimmy, but with Paas, I don't think I've been paying attention to how good or bad his goal kicks are.
Yeah, me neither. I don't really remember a bunch of, because you remember Jesse Gonzalez used to blast the ball out of bounds all the time. We used to rail on him in the breakdowns about dude, you're like less than 50% rate on those long balls. You've got to play short. It's got to be better, it's got to, and they would work on him with him in training. That's definitely not something they work on Paas with. Most of the time they build out. I mean, that's,
All right. I do want to take a minute just to mention the fact that Walker Zimmerman is even more awesome and impressive in person than he has been on television with the U.S. men's national team. It's insane to me that he was here with this club from the start of his career, and for whatever happened with him and Oscar, they ended up trading him away, because man, that kid has got the goods, and I'm sure he's going to start at the Azteca here in a few days.
Someday I'm hoping somebody will tell me the story of what happened with him and Oscar, because that thing went south bad. Yeah. So I don't know what happened, other than he made a couple mistakes. That Oscar's not usually that unforgiving, so there must have been something else.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, Dan, is it wrong to raise the question that, knowing what we know now in 2022, Dallas may have kept the wrong center back?
You're saying get rid of Hedges?
Well, maybe instead of, should they have traded Hedges instead, knowing what you know now?
I mean, at that time, Hedges was the MLS defender of the year.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
And Zimmerman was a guy that was prone to having a brain fart every week, which, he's now got out of his system. That's really good. And, that 2017 season was a really strange one. Was it 2017 or 20?
Yeah, that was the collapse, the Champions League hangover season.
Yeah.
When they went with a bunch of old guys, and then once they got eliminated, those dudes all quit, basically.
Yeah. Well, it was weird as well, because remember he took that off-season training with some Norwegian or Icelandic team, and he was trying desperately to get on there, and wasn't coming, wouldn't come back for preseason here until they finally were like, no, we're not signing you.
Well, you remember that he actually came out recently and said that if Oscar would have stayed, that he would have played out his contract and not resigned there, no matter what, because of Oscar. So, I mean, like, there's got to be, we're just speculating, but there's got to be something bigger to that story.
Oh, there was. I mean, I'd go to training, and you stand in the hallway, speak to Oscar. Oh, how Walker Zimmerman's training. He looks fine. How come he hasn't been playing for the last few weeks? Oh, his knee's injured. And then I'd talk to Walker 2 minutes later, and he's like, my knee's totally fine. He's just not picking me for some reason. You'd have to ask him why. And I'm like, oh, that's what he told me.
Yeah, those were weird days back then. Well, look, I'm happy for him. He's really turned into quite a player, and it's a shame that this happened at this point in his career, because I guess he's just a little too old to make the move overseas. But Nashville is very lucky to have him, and he was by and large a beast all night. It was fun to watch him play again. All right, anything else about the Nashville game? Do we want to talk about the goal anymore? By the way, I don't remember who it was in the Discord who overlaid the actual Messi goal call on top of the video, along with Mark Followell's fantastic goal call himself. Was quite a masterpiece of digital audio work. So congratulations to them.
The only thing I want to say is that Chris Seitz just followed me on Twitter, so that's a big day. Literally seconds ago.
You're easily satisfied in your life, aren't you, bud?
It's a good day.
All right, so Dallas 2, Nashville 0. That's Nashville's first loss of the season and Dallas's first win. And right now, I think after the weekend, they are in 8th place. Buzz, you went to training yesterday, I believe it is, since they've closed
Tuesday,
training. Training. So you went to Tuesday training.
Yeah.
Anything important to know from there? Anything surprising? Any Huntsman dumps you'd like to share?
Yes, not a Huntsman dump, but I find it fascinating that this coach has gone in harder. I don't know if hard is the right word. Stronger, larger, bigger for workload management than I've ever seen with a coach. We're 3 weeks and 3 games into the season, right? And he's already aggressively managing workload. And he does it so far that I can find in 4 ways. And the first one, and I actually talked to him about this. So the first one is using the subs, like you talked about Paxton coming off, with 5 subs, plenty of chances to get guys off and limit their minutes. You can see this in Nanu, who basically he told me had like a 73-ish minute limit, and then they were, depending on how much work he was putting in, and they pulled him off at 75. And Velasco was on a short one. So in hindsight last week, by the way, I was totally wrong to expect Velasco to start. I didn't think about it, that he wasn't going to be, the coach wouldn't think he was enough, getting the 26 minutes that he did. So Velasco this week, which we'll talk about later, should move up, but won't start, I don't think. So I drank the Kool-Aid and bought in, and I shouldn't have. And so the second way that he'll manage minutes is through the typical rotation. And then 2 things happened this week that I've not hardly ever seen before. And they happen this early in the season is remarkable. He's talked a lot about trying to slow the game down and be patient at midfield and not pressing all the time. That's part of the coaching and the tactics. But specifically in training, I thought this was fascinating. He put both Paxton and Paxton and Cervania on Tuesday as a neutral player, which means they go like when they're playing in a drill, they go offense full time. When the ball turns over, but they also swapped in and out for each other. So even though they were like short of body, they each only played half the drill basically all the time, in order to try and limit the load on those 2 guys. And because he and I talked about the amount of running they're doing and the amount of work they're doing, and that it's good, honest work. It's not overwork, but yet they're very aware of the load on those 2 kids already. And they're trying to limit it by things like that in the drills. And then also I talked to him about Farfan, because they gave Farfan the day off. Like Farfan's not hurt. He doesn't have a knock. They simply just told him, "You're not training today. Go over there with the fitness guy." And they made him jog back and forth, and like they wouldn't let him go over a 60% pace. They made him run a little bit up and down, which is just sort of an activation kind of running to get the muscles going kind of running. So we're 3 games into this season. This is remarkable to me. The coach clearly recognizes the heat here is going to be unbelievable over the course of the summer. This formation requires an immense amount of work, particularly out of the central midfield, or in this case, Farfan, the outside backs. Farfan has no sub coming in for him right now, right? Nanu and Emo are kind of flip-flopping and taking turns almost, it seems like. So Farfan's workload and Paxton and Cervania's workload are already being heavily managed. So to me, that's completely different to see that kind of thing just 3 games into the season. So that's very, very different than anyone else that's ever gone here. Colin believed in being fitter than everybody else because at the end of the game, a tired brain makes bad decisions, which is true. So he outran and outfitnessed everybody. You know, Paxton. Oscar had his, sit deep and counterpunch to conserve power and momentum and ability to score. So this is the adaptation this coach is going through, and it's very different. It's fascinating to me. So that's the big thing, was that to see those 2 things happen in training in one session, and I'd never seen them before.
Interesting. Well, is the fact that you're not getting to see Wednesday training having an impact on your ability to figure out what's going on, or is Tuesday working out?
A little bit. It's because of this coach. Colin, you could see the lineup on Monday, like instantaneously. He would know what he was changing for the weekend. Colin Clark. Yeah. Oscar would be pretty clear on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You would see guys that were flip-flopping a lot in drills where he was clearly trying to make a decision, but mostly you could see what the talking points were. This coach I don't go on Monday, so I have no idea, but on Tuesday, every single week so far that I've ever been on Tuesday is a complete mix where like the teams are clearly designed to be even, and they even have all the groupings are all split up. So like Hedges on Tuesday never is paired with Martinez. He's always paired with somebody else, right? It's at center back, for example, and you might get one starting outside back and the other not. So definitely, like, whether it's intentionally in order to try and confuse media or whether he just likes to be even for players, sometimes coaches won't want to make it clear who's starting because they want to keep competition. And this coach seems to be a guy like that. Like, even when I was able to go on Wednesday, he was still doing that kind of thing. So he's making his tactical adjustments on like making the lineup clear much later in the week than even when I was going on Wednesday. It wasn't obvious. He wasn't doing it. So it'll be a thing to watch going forward. It'll be hard for me to tell without talking to people. But it seems pretty clear that he doesn't go into tactics for the weekend at all until maybe Thursday or Friday. The first Tuesday and Wednesday are about adapting in some concept that they want to try and improve. Like Tuesday this week was kind of about breaking down a 4-4-2 look, assuming that's for Portland, like a 4-man across the middle kind of look. That was what they were working on. So I don't think it's killing me in terms of my ability to predict the lineup, even if I was going on Wednesday, because he's not tipping his hand that early. I think, and it's as much for the players as it is for. I don't think it's for us. I mean, if he's doing it for us, that's stupid. And I mean us, all media. I mean, hopefully he's not doing it for that. I mean, everything you do in training should be you're doing it for your team and for you, not for some media. That would be dumb. So it's just keeping the competition fresh and playing people in combinations, because he wants to play Tafari with both Martinez and with Hedges too in training. He told me this like 3 weeks ago, because he wants Tafari to be ready to come in with either pair, and play.
So here we are. Portland comes to town on Saturday night, 7:30 up in Frisco, back-to-back home games. It is on TXA 21. Will Velasco start, you think, Buzz?
I'm going to say no, because of my conversation about minutes. About how he's slowly building, where Velasco is not he said he was shooting for like the 20 to 30 for Velasco last game. So this game, maybe he wants it kind of to be half ish, maybe more like 35 to 40 maybe. So I'm going to predict a early second half sub for Velasco rather than going, because if you start him, he really needs to go 60, and that's too big of a jump. Whereas Nanu, like having gone 75 last game, Nanu can now theoretically go 90. as the next phase, the next step. So I would look for Nanu to be in and try and get the whole game out of him, as much for evaluation, but even more so of like pushing him to the 90-minute limit. And Velasco, I'm going to say, even though he was spectacular and everything about him screams, please start the kid now, I think it's got to be workload for this coach seems to be massive and build up seems to be massive. So I'm going to say like 55 to 60 minute sub, an earlier sub than last time by about 10, maybe to 15 minutes earlier. So no start this week.
Nanu starts?
I think Nanu starts and they try and get the whole game. Farfan will start and maybe if they can figure out a way to sub him out. Emo worked at left back some this week, for example, because Farfan wasn't training, like I told you, workload. So I think Emo. Goodness, sorry, Emo. I think Emo might come in some at left back, to try and give Farfan a little of a break, and I think Velasco will come off the bench, probably for Oberon again, I would assume.
Okay. Portland comes into town with 2 draws and a win. They beat Austin last week up in Portland in a pretty close game, only beating the Broccoli's 1-0 after tying LAFC in LA and also New England, just like Dallas did, 2-2. So Portland's always a fun game to watch. Again, 7:30 on Saturday. All right, anything else about that before we move into the other ancillary, non-necessary on-field stuff?
Well, I saw a quote from Giovanni Savarese saying Eric Williamson might be back this week for Portland, which will be a bummer because he's a really good player if he's back. He's had a hamstring problem or something. So,
speaking of that game with Austin, did you see the shot count for that? It was like 16. It was like 16-14 Portland, but their goal was the only shot on target of the whole game.
Wow.
Yeah, and I will also say that when I saw the video, I was relieved to find out that the fact that everybody was wearing green of some shade in the field, because it's a turf field, is so green, wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be. Wasn't great, and I still don't think everybody should be wearing the same shade of the same color in a game, but I felt like I should at least say that since I was bitching about it earlier.
Well, not to trash Austin, but they played the 2 worst teams in the league and scored 10 goals, and then they actually played somebody good and couldn't score. So I think that's probably gives you a more, it's only 3 games, but that tells you that people that were like, best in the league, all that garbage should have known who they were playing. Right? I mean, they got Seattle this week, so good luck to you.
Yeah. So I feel like we'll have a much better handle. Look, I thought Austin played Portland very well in Portland. Austin is clearly better than they were last year. I don't think they're as off the charts good as Austin fans think they were after those first 2 games, but they are certainly considerably improved over last season, and the race between the 3 clubs is going to be a little different this year.
It's funny to see Austin and Salt Lake both in the top 3 in the West when they were supposed to be down in the bottom. Small sample, admittedly.
We have to consider the fans haven't been around long enough to be downtrodden by years of disappointment just yet. Last year they had that really good start on the road, and there was a lot of talk there of, obviously you could get the first round bye in the playoffs. Who do you think gets second round? Well, obviously that was very premature. Give them a few years of FC Dallas and Houston like seasons, and they'll be like, seventh is a really nice goal.
I don't want to dull their enthusiasm, Dan. I got to appreciate their enthusiastic nature.
This league has a lot of misery in it. Everyone has to share it.
Yeah, the misery will come naturally, Dan. You don't have to. You don't have to pour it on them unnecessarily right up front. It'll happen on its own accord in due time. No doubt about it.
Yeah,
by the way,
fans are learning.
Yes, definitely. Charlotte fans are learning quickly. By the way, in a matter of things that are good bad items. The good is that MLSsoccer.com has returned the form guide to the standings, which they took away last year, and I'm so excited because it's one of my favorite, tables that they put out there. The bad is that some designer knucklehead has decided to color the win dots as black, the ties as gray, and the losses as white. So instead of the green, yellow, red form table that we all know and love, we get black, gray, and white. Somebody please correct the website quickly, because that is the dumbest design choice I can think after putting this. Because the new form guide, by the way, is really nice. The way they laid it out also includes a link to the score and the stats for the game once they're completed. It's just the color choice or lack of color choice that is driving me nuts.
You know what they do on their website? I hate even more than that is that the rosters have first initial for the first name instead of first name, last name. It's first initial and last name.
Why did they do that?
I don't know. It's been that way since the redesign. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. So it's like every time I want to see a player, I have to go click on their bio in order to get their actual full first name. You know, because if I can't remember, I don't have every roster in the league memorized. 30 deep. Sometimes I got to look them up. So it's like I gotta click on every name. It's so annoying.
The worst thing is
Buzz admitted that in public. Wow,
I know, right?
The worst thing is the stats pages for every game. Where you used to have that whole thing where you could like pull up everyone's action, click it, get the exact second, highlight certain ones. You can't do that anymore.
It just missed.
It's
the
just a
passing
static
charts.
image.
Oh, they're in there. You just gotta hunt to find them. Yeah. They're hiding at the bottom of the stats page. It's really annoying.
No, not that. I'm looking for the old school passing chart where you could pick a player and then you see what all their actions were over the course of the game. That's not still in there, is it?
Yeah, it is. It's below the stats. If you go to the player stats page, just down underneath it.
That's what I was talking about. It used to be able to like click each one of those actions and it would pop up with the second and everything. Or you could highlight a certain part of the pitch. Well, you can't do that part anymore. You can still like have all the actions of the different types and sort them and everything. Although everything's now white, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, no color.
Yeah,
all I see is passing. All I see is passing breakdown, passing network. I'm looking at it right now.
Are you on player stats or team stats?
I see. Oh, player stats. Okay, I didn't.
Yeah,
see
and
that.
then I'll go down below all the player stats. The chart will be down there.
Well, I'm on the Dallas-Nashville game, and I'm at the bottom, and there is no chart. It stops after Nashville's stats.
You don't have a chalkboard, big old huge gigantic field drawn at the bottom. I'm gonna edit this out.
No. It's okay. Well, I'm sure maybe it's the way my site loaded for me or something, but I haven't seen that in a while.
Yep.
They did do one really nice thing though. They put the actual kickoff times in the fixture previews now.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Huh. Yeah. That is nice.
Yeah.
And by the way, guys, I don't know if you noticed, but I posted it on the Discord and I posted it on Twitter, but it has arrived. my very own FC Dallas Crescendo jersey with the number 0 and Namdar on the back is here in all of its magical glory, and I can't wait to wear it out in public.
Yeah, you're gonna wear it to a game?
I will. Yeah, I will wear it to a game.
I wanted an over/under on people who ask you who Namdo is. I bet it's like 10 plus.
It's Namdar, sir.
Oh, see, Sam. Okay.
And I bet it's less than 3.
Oh, yeah. Man,
it's a pretty niche thing.
Yeah, that's a pretty all-in bit to have gone and gotten the jersey.
Hey, there's 2,253 people out there who may come up to you and say, "Hey, I appreciate you. I voted for you."
That's right. Somebody sent me a text that at their polling station by their house, Namdar's sign is the only one that's still there because nobody's come and taken it away. All the other candidate signs are gone, and his is just the one sitting out in the middle of the yard all by itself.
I assume he didn't win. I didn't pay attention.
No, he didn't, and he got very few
came
votes.
5th of 6 candidates.
Oh,
yeah.
That's too bad. So sad.
It happened at a very unfortunate time because I had already gone through an incredibly difficult process of finding somebody that would even make me the jersey in the first place.
Yeah.
And then that turned into a whole thing. And by the time I got it, the whole Namdar phenomena had kind of died on the vine a little bit. So I may have ended up with the most ridiculously worn out, old, forgotten joke on the books, but I will
hang out with Chet.
Yeah, that story is going to be crazy forever, the FC Dallas Nandor story. And so you'll be able to tell the Jersey part of that story every time we ever tell that Nandor story, because that's a crazy story.
Yeah. All right. Well, very good. All right. Anything else we need to talk about before I go to bed?
I went and saw North Texas scrimmage against Dynamo Dose. That was kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. How'd that go?
Fine. Dallas is going to be really young, I think. I think they have a lot of academy kids.
We kind of knew that, though, right?
Yeah, but I mean, even more than I thought. Right now anyway, they don't have a lot of homegrowns coming down, because the only one they have really is Colin Smith and Antonio Carrera. Antonio just turned 18 yesterday or today, whatever it was. And Colin Smith is 19, I think. So those are only two guys they have down. And so they're, other than Blaine Ferry, who sort of is a Dallas player and sort of isn't. They start only one academy guy in the game, but then they had like a whole slew. The whole team came in, and so like they were pretty even against Houston for the most part when they had all their signed players and their couple of homegrowns. But when they rotated in 10 academy players, that it wasn't so good, as you can easily imagine, against Dynamo, which had 5 homegrowns down from their first team. And so it's going to be a young team. I think it's going to be really young. It's shaping up like, the more I talk to people, the more it looks like the MLS Next Pro is going to be, homegrowns, lots of academy kids, and very little older kind of guys. Even Rochester, who has some older guys, seems like they signed Jabron Rayo, the North Texas kid, the FC Dallas kid, which was weird, considering he's the one that got invited to first team spring camp and then didn't show up. So he's apparently joined Rochester. That's why he didn't show up. So as far as that goes, that kid should have moved to USL Championship, in my opinion, but that's a different discussion. So anyway, it was cool to see them play. I thought Pomadou was going to be more vocal on the sideline. He's taken his cues a little bit from Nico. Both of them are much more reticent on the sideline. Not that Quill was demonstrative or super talkative like Lucci, not like Lucci was, but they're both considerably quieter than Lucci and less talking than Lucci, which I applaud. I thought Lucci overtalked. One of his weaknesses was overtalking. So,
okay, well, when does the season start for them, Buzz?
Roster deadline is this week. Their first game is next weekend. I believe the whole Next Pro thing launches. Most of the teams are playing in stadiums not of their first team. They're mostly going to play in stadiums that are like 5,000 to 10,000 seats. Almost all of them have the name of whatever 2, or Dose or something like that. Orlando City B aside, there's only 3 teams that have Tacoma, Real Monarchs, and North Texas Soccer Club are the only ones that aren't named their first team plus 2. So kind of boring on that front, but it'll be fun. See, and they're all going to be on TV. Every game is going to be streamed, and
okay.
I think there's going to be some kind of game of the week thing. I'm not really sure about that 100%, but there'll be some sort of more special broadcast. It'll be like the broadcast for North Texas has been in the past. I don't think it's going to be different than that for the most part, but I really like watching that play. And I'm actually really excited that it's going to be more academy kids in it, because there's a couple of kids, like I've been talking about this talent bubble, this 05, 06 talent bubble. Those kids are some of the ones that are now going to be involved in this mix. And so I'm interested to see which ones of them are going to rise up. There's not a Pepe in this group, now that Corcoran's gone, but there's definitely plenty of pros in there. And I can't wait to see which ones that they're actually going to be, because, this is how we weed out, this team.
I'd like to start a campaign that for next season they change the name from North Texas Soccer Club to Lil FCD, LIL apostrophe Lil FCD.
Yeah.
That's what I want. For Dallas, that's spelled DALLAS or DALAAS?
No, the proper spelling of Dallas. I just like it to be Lil FCD. Instead of like FCD Juniors or 2 or Dose. I think that'd be the cool way for Dallas to go and differentiate themselves. That's just okay. Maybe not. Okay. Well, we'll end it there then. We'll do a smooth dismount into an ending. Dan, thank you for your time and insight today, sir.
Likewise.
Please, more videos of Mr. and Mrs. Crooke dressed up as the Hatter mascots for Luton Town. Good win today, by the way.
Thanks, yeah, I was happy with that. 4-0. Nice easy, up in 5th place now.
You're getting there.
Hey, we'll
So
be in the
close.
Premier League soon.
You might. You just might do it, Dan.
On the budget of a League One club. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Dan Crooke's Luton Town in the Premier League. That would be a great story. All right.
Yeah, we'd lose every game except the 2 against Chelsea because they're even poorer than us.
Wow. Cold. Very, very cold. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. Buzz, thank you for all your insight and nuance on the club, my friend.
Oh, you're welcome. I want to give a shout out to Dan's new Things We've Learned feature. He's kind of doing the things I used to do to break down. He's just sort of taking that over, and I think it's going really well. I think Dan's doing a great job. So you guys should go read those if you're not, because they're awesome.
They
Thank
are
you.
good. Good stuff,
So honored.
Dano. They are good.
This is Steve Riles again. Remember, Third Degree is sponsored by Soccer 90, located at Toyota Stadium next to the National Soccer Hall of Fame. Check out their wide variety of Premier League, MLS, and national team gear, and shop Soccer 90 for all your FC Dallas needs. All Third Degree listeners receive 20% off when you use the code Third Degree at checkout on soccer90.com. Some exclusions may apply.
All right. Well, thank you, FC Dallas Curious Fan and Celebratory. We'll talk to you next week, hopefully on another victory episode of Third Degree, the podcast.
Velasco!